The Vengeance M90. Yes, I'm doing both of the 90 series Vengeance products at the same time here. And that is because I just got both of them. So there you go. Has a great box, which comes apart very easily. I think this is a wonderful innovation because most blister packs, I could like get a blister and a cut just trying to open them up. And Corsair has solved that problem for me in a big way. So the M90 is pretty similar to the M60, just like the K90. That's the keyboards. The M for mouse, K for keyboard. Just like the K90 is very similar to the K60, although I'd say the two mice are actually more similar to each other than the keyboards are, because the K90 has some real like killer features that the K60 does not have, whereas the M90 is more of a personal preference thing, as opposed to just simply having more features. Like the K90 has a backlight and the K60 doesn't, whereas the M90 is an MMO-optimized mouse. You can see all these buttons over here. We've actually got 9 side-mounted buttons here, and the... Sorry, where was I going with that? Right, whereas the M60 has like a DPI, or not DPI lowering, a sensitivity lowering sniping button here and a couple side buttons because it's more optimized for FPS. So I'm going to start this video by showing you guys one of the other MMO-oriented mice that I happen to have here in my Tech Tips room, and that is the Razer Naga. So we're going to compare the approaches that are taken by these two companies. The WoW mouse is another example of an MMO-optimized mouse, and the WoW mouse I personally found very difficult to use due to my small hands. I can't reach a lot of the buttons. The Naga, I really like. Love this mouse. Great sensor, great buttons, great shape. However, I never ever use more than about 3 or 4 of these, maybe the top 6, because by the time I'm reaching back here, I can't tell if I'm this far back or this far back. I don't know what button I'm pressing. Yes, they do have dimples on them, but in the heat of the moment when you're like, mana potion, it's not actually that easy to tell what's what. Bring on the M90. So the M90 positions the buttons in a way that you can actually easily feel which button is which, pretty much regardless of the shape and size of your hands, because you grip it more like in a claw grip. This is the way I would grip this mouse, although you can palm it if you want. And then your thumb rests right here. See how it has a blank spot? That's another thing that I've heard, I don't personally have this problem, but I've heard complained about the Naga a lot, is that the whole side's a button, so when you go to pick up the mouse, you accidentally mash things. Corsair has given you a place to actually rest your thumb so you can easily, very easily lift it up. And it's a bit of a heavy mouse, and doesn't have the weights, the adjustable weights like the M60, so that could be a factor for you, that you can grip it very easily. Okay, now they've positioned the buttons in a way that you use a different part of your thumb to actuate almost every part of every button, which means that you'll almost never make a mistake. The very tip of your thumb goes here, this part of your thumb goes here, this part of your thumb goes here, this part of your thumb is used to actuate this one. You slide back a little bit and you just kind of mash right under the knuckle here in order to press this button. You slide back and you've got 2 options here and here, and then at the bottom you've got here and here. You can very distinctly feel, look how big the spaces are, in particular between the buttons that are very close together. That is so you can easily feel which button is which and use all 9 of them in a useful manner. Now we've also got, very similar to the way it's implemented on the Naga, which personally I don't prefer. The first thing I'll do with this mouse is I'll rebind back and forward to something on the side. Is you've got your back and forward buttons here, so you've got a couple more buttons next to the left and the right click, which brings us up to 11 buttons, 12, 13, 14, look at that, plus the middle click. 15 actual places where you can click this mouse. Okay, what else we got here? So it's a 5700 Dpi sensor. That is just like the M60 as well. I've used the M90 a fair bit. I know I'm unboxing this one, but I have another one already that I've played around with a little bit. Really like the way the sensor tracks. I've tried it on a variety of different surfaces, including just a plain tablecloth, cloth mouse pad, hard mouse pad, rough hard mouse pad, and I haven't had any difficulty with it whatsoever. This guy's got 48K of onboard dynamically managed memory for storing up to 6 on the on-the-go profiles, which is kind of neat. And then we've also got indicators over here for which profile we happen to be using. So that's kind of neat. The aluminum frame. Yeah, let's talk about the aluminum frame and construction. So the K60 has a bit more of like a bare bones look because you can kind of see the shape of the frame, whereas this one is more like a traditional mouse shape. But it still does have that aluminum construction, so you can see this shape here. You can see there's two pieces of aluminum here that come together to form this mouse. So what that gives it is a little bit more weight, and it also gives it a very solid feel. Now, people might complain about something like the weight of an iPhone 4, but personally, I find you go and you build it out of aluminum and glass. Yeah, it weighs a lot, but it weighs a lot in the way that an SLR camera weighs a lot. You're like, yeah, quality. Whereas sometimes things weigh a lot and you're like, yeah, heavy piece of plastic. So personally, I don't mind if my camera weighs a little bit more than average, if my power supply weighs a little bit more than average, if my mouse weighs a little bit more than average, you know what, I'm okay with that too, because it does give it an incredibly solid feel. You can see the whole thing is screwed together with screws, not, you know, little cheapo plastic clips, nothing like that. Corsair's really overdone, I would say, the construction of this particular mouse, which includes the scroll wheel as well. Great rubber dimples, making it very, very easy to scroll up and down and control it perfectly, and then metal rings on the sides, also very, very strong. It's like, what do they expect you to do with this thing? Throw it at the wall? That might happen. So there you go. We've got, non-slippy, or rather, non-slippy, slippy feet on the bottom of the mouse, covering all sides. That should pretty much cover any direction you might want to move the mouse, and make sure that you don't accidentally grip things too hard. I mean, remember when that was like a big deal? It's like, yeah, the mouse has like Teflon feet on the bottom. Now they pretty much all do, so. Alright, cable length. Yeah, okay, so it's just over a Linus arm span, which means it's probably around 7 feet. Although I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't think it matters that much. It's very long, you won't have trouble with it. You've also got gold-plated connectors. Actually, you can see them better through the top, gold-plated connectors. So even though this outside part, actually this is funny because a lot of gold-plated USB, actually it's gold-plated on the outside, which doesn't make any contact with any data connection, so it's totally useless. But no, this is actually gold-plated where it counts. The reason the gold plating matters is because it's a malleable metal, helps it to make good contact with the inside of the USB port. Let me just make sure I haven't missed anything here, guys. Right, adjustable lift distance, so you can decide how far off the table a lift is registered, okay, and it'll stop actually moving the mouse side to side. And Corsair has such good packaging. It's always got like all the information on it, no problem. 15 individually programmable buttons. So you want to go ahead and download the software at corsair.com/vengeancem90. So they've got a little preview of it here. Which is what I usually tell you people to do anyway. It's got a 2-year warranty on this guy. Can change the polling rate, 1000 hertz, 500 hertz, 250 hertz, 125 hertz, okay? Tracking up to 165 images per second and up to 30 Gs of acceleration. Personally, that doesn't mean nearly as much to me as when I use the mouse and I go, oh yeah, that sensor feels good. Some mice, they're really high DPI, but you go to use them and you're like, oh, this is a crap sensor. It's not imaging the surface below it nearly well enough. Okay, last thing. Overall texture of the mouse, so it's got kind of a smooth, soft touch sort of grip on the top here, and then it's got a bit of a smooth, like hard plastic one here, which is fine, but on the other side they've gone with kind of a rough, so you can actually see it rubbing away some of my skin there. It's quite rough, and I think that's awesome because what that means is that it's smooth and soft to the touch where you're resting on it, and then it's got enough grip on the sides and enough of a lip on the other side that you can easily lift it up, you know, in the heat of battle, so to speak. I think that pretty much covers it. We've got an illuminated Corsair logo here, and we have nice, high-quality braided cable here. Thank you for checking out my unboxing of the Vengeance M90 from Corsair. Don't forget to subscribe to Linus Tech Tips for more unboxings, reviews, and other computer videos.